Hello, everyone. We are the Divided People, and welcome to the show. In this episode, we are talking about pro life and pro choice. We have two women who came in and sat down with us. Their names are Megan Zinna and Julia Hayes. Special thanks to both of them for doing this because at the end of the day, me and Lance wanted to do this topic, but we are two males who don't know what we're talking about, so we'd rather them come in and talk. If you like this show, please subscribe to us on any of our social media platforms. It's just the Divided People on all of them, even YouTube. Don't be afraid to subscribe if you're on YouTube too. If you think you could do a better job, or if you would like to discuss this in more details, you can always contact us on any social media or message us through the email. It's just dividedpeople@gmail. Also, don't be afraid to check out No Road Media on YouTube for the latest trailer of their Friday the 13th Return to Crystal Lake. It's the best one yet, and they said that it's being pushed back to July to be released. We will be giving you information when that does come out. Anyway, so without further ado, enjoy the show. We're live. That's how we start this podcast.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, we're the Divided People. I'm your host, Marky Mark. This is my other co-host, Lance.
My other co-host.
Yeah. John's usually the other one, so you know. With us today, we have Megan, who is a hairstylist.
Yes.
And Julia, who I don't really know what you do.
I'm a financial investigator.
That sounds pretty complicated.
Okay, go ahead. All right.
Does it pay well?
It doesn't pay my education, I don't guess.
I just want to stop being a cable guy. That's,
I thought you said you didn't want to mention that.
that's true. Scratch that.
I'll cut that out.
I
We're
make
here
crab
to talk
ragoons for a
about-
living.
We're here to talk pro-life, pro-choice, and Lance, you want to start with a question?
No, not opening questions. I think we should open up just with a basic overview of your opinions. You want to lead us off? Just
Sure.
a basic overview of your opinions. You don't have to get into specifics.
All right. Well, this is Megan, but I am pro-choice, but with a lot of other people that are pro-choice, I'm not like pro-abortions. I'm just pro people having the option to get one if that's what they feel that they need or want.
Okay, so yeah, I understand that there is a spectrum to this, even on both sides. Some
Yeah.
people are different levels of pro-choice. Some people are different levels of pro-life. So I'm glad you were able to clarify that for us. What about you?
I am 100% anti-abortion,
Okay, to what extent? You mean like
All the
none
way.
ever at all, period?
period.
Okay, even in cases of rape, incest?
Okay, so
Just to clarify.
I'll take one by one. In the case of rape, I would feel that in that circumstance, an act of violence doesn't beget another act of violence. And that out of all of the rape cases, about 5% get pregnant, and of those 5%, about 60% keep their babies.
Do you have a source you can cite on that, or is that just a generalized term that you found on the internet? I'm just trying to be clear. I'm just trying to clarify. People are going to pick this stuff apart.
They can research it, and
Okay, that's fine. That's cool. Just checking.
I didn't like
No, that's fine.
remember.
That's fine.
No, that's fine. We asked just so if I can pull it up and say it's verified or not, but I can pull that up while we're doing that. So, rebuttal.
Well, I just had some more questions because you said that was because you said you were gonna go like through like the rape and all that. So how do you feel about people who like being pregnant endangers their own life? What's your opinion on that?
Usually, if a pregnancy has to end because of someone's life at risk, you would go to the hospital, not to an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't so you're just completely against like things that have to like go to abortion clinics to have that happen then?
I don't believe in an
Innocence?
abortion. So I feel like abortion clinics should be obsolete. If there is a medical emergency, the quickest way to take a baby out in a medical emergency would be via C-section. And if the baby is lost in that situation, if wasn't healthy enough to survive outside of the womb, you should mourn the death as opposed to choosing not to have the baby because you think that there is a possibility that the baby would not survive.
So just to clarify on this, what we're talking about is the abortion in the just my understanding of it from what I've read. Abortion in the hospital is like for emergency necessities. Laws don't supersede that one at all. The no abortion or abortion laws they don't supersede medical necessity for an abortion. If the mother's life is in danger, from my understanding, is a doctor can make the decision to say your life is in danger. Now you get to make the choice, no matter what the law says. From what I know of, but I could be wrong.
In that case, don't they just do a C-section instead of trying to abort?
Yes,
it?
that's a difference.
Yeah, that's
because
what
I was trying to do a little research before this podcast so I could understand some of this better. Because apparently the abortion procedure is more than just one day. It's not like you just come in.
Yeah.
You have to cut. It's a multi-step process. So I didn't understand that at first, but now I do. Okay.
I think you take 2 pills, and you take the one pill, and then 4 hours later you take a second pill. And once you take that second pill, then you go in, and then they pull the baby out piece by piece. But to end the baby's life prior to removing the baby, you take the 2 pills. Unless the baby is much further along, then there's a lot more invasive.
Okay, so what is you believe that a woman should have the choice what to do about it when she gets pregnant? Why do you feel that way?
Well, I just feel that way. Me personally, if I were to get pregnant, for myself, I would never get an abortion. It's not something that I would want to do, but I just don't feel like it's my right to take away someone else's choice. But at the same time, I don't think people call those, what are they, like late-term abortions and all that stuff, like that I do not agree with. I feel like there should be like a time limit that way farther than the 6 weeks that all the laws are trying to pass now. But
okay, so like a lot of people, they start passing like the heartbeat bill and stuff like that. Would you support a bill like that?
No, because a lot of people don't. There's a lot of women who aren't actively trying to get pregnant who don't realize they're pregnant until after that time frame that they're giving. So it's just, for me personally, it's just, I don't want to take away someone else's choice, because there's some people who they can't afford to have a baby. They just don't want one. That's not what they want in their life, and they can't go and get fixed by their doctor because they're too young and their doctor just refuses to do it. There's so many things that go into it.
They're too young. Could you clarify?
Well,
what do you
when it
refer
comes
as
to
young?
like women wanting to my mind is so blank right now, I can't think of the name, but getting like fixed, getting your tubes tied. When it comes to women doing that, a lot of younger women, even up to early 30s, if you don't already have a kid, it's very hard without other health issues and stuff, to find a doctor that's willing to do that procedure for you.
So, but in that aspect, and this is me not taking a side, but wouldn't that be a different fight than fighting for abortion? Shouldn't you be fighting to change that rule?
Yeah, but that's part of it. That's something else that needs to be changed. But I'm saying is because they don't have that choice, then it's...
So that's a part of the abortion topic then?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just asking.
Well, this is just like...
Well, no, because that is brought up a lot.
Yeah.
When I see the argument,
that
is brought up a lot. And I always get confused because I feel like at that point, that is a topic change, unless you're saying that is a part of that topic.
No, it's a part of it. It's just, It's basically just another way to like tie in like someone's opinions for why they should be able to or shouldn't be able to. So it's like another... basically like a subtopic under it, if that makes sense. Like it's connected to it.
Yeah, because I've heard that there's some countries at 16 years old, a girl can, without her parents, she can go have an abortion. And even below that age, they can still have one. They just need parent consent. So, that's food for thought. Any rebuttal on her opinions?
I guess I want to say that in the circumstance of women being poor, which, I was born poor to a single mom, the last of 5. And I'm thankful that I wasn't aborted.
Oh, yeah.
But, you would have to say that you would, in that moment, be trying to eliminate a potential sufferer rather than trying to, look at it as a completely different situation instead of changing the circumstances. I mean, I guess anybody can come out of it. I mean, like I said, I was born poor, and I'm a college graduate. I have 2 kids, and I'm doing just fine, you know. So I would say that, you know, you make your life as to what you want it.
No, I agree with that completely. I mean, I grew up, luckily my parents were together for most of my childhood, but we grew up really poor. Like, if it wasn't for our food stamps and stuff that we had coming in and government assistance, like, we wouldn't have made it, because there's 4 kids. My dad worked out of town constantly, and it was a struggle my whole childhood. And so, like, I completely agree with that. Like, you come out of it. Like, my sister is a college graduate. I'm a college graduate. Like, my brother's out living in Dallas doing his thing, making money. So it's like, you can come out of situations. So I completely agree. I'm not saying that, like, being poor is a reason to get an abortion, and that's not what I'm saying. But it's just like, if someone already is not ready and not in the mindset to have a child, and then they get pregnant, plus they're not financially available, I just feel like they should be able to have the option to be able to.
So why
do
not?
what they want.
What about the adoption route?
Adoption. Well, the thing is with I am full support of adoption. Me personally, I don't ever want to get pregnant. I would rather adopt a baby. That's just me. And so
That's commendable.
Yes. Well, thank you. But I am in full support of adoption. But adoption processes they're really hard. They're really expensive. It's not as easy as just, I want a baby. Let's go sign some papers.
So what about changing that process? What about a lot of the funding that goes to, say, Planned Parenthood and stuff, taxpayer funding? What if that were redirected to help people with adoption processes?
See, I think that would be amazing. That would be such a good option. But it's just things like that. It's the way that the whole, like, foster care system and adoption system is, it's so corrupt. And, like, I had friends that grew up in the foster care system, and they had a miserable life up until they got out of it.
Now, I got to clarify something, because this is one of the topics that I found on this topic about the adoption. I actually had a brother that was looking into adopting. It's one of the reasons why I knew about it. So apparently, babies are highly desired in the adoption world.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're actually, there's a demand for them. There's more demand than there is supply. Yeah, so it's the older children, people who have had kids, try to keep them. They've grown up, they've already been raised halfway, you know, and then they're put into a system.
Yeah.
So that's my question of that, because that's one of the arguments you hear sometimes is, why not just shift that whole system towards supporting systems like that instead of supporting the encouragement of the abortion, I guess.
I guess that's just, when it comes to, like, trying to get the government assistance and all that as a whole to try and shift, that's really, like, we can make as much noise and complain and throw out all of our suggestions, but that's still, like, we don't have control over where that money goes to, you know?
And I also think that, like, you know, Planned Parenthood is probably, you know, making some money that way too with all this. I mean, it's not like, I get what you're saying, putting that money towards that, but you also have people that are like, wait, what you want to do?
Well, so it's
this is cheaper.
I know their money doesn't come from one source, but it's a combination of
Yeah.
sources. We understand that. They do make their own money. They also have government funding.
You kind of, like,
They
I feel
have
like you're talking about a
independent
perfect
funding.
government at that point.
Yeah, which we
obviously,
don't have.
obviously.
So.
But I mean, you know, well, and you know, everything's an effort of a more perfect union. So
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm just curious about, like I said, I'm a man. I don't know. So, but I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to understand it as well as everybody else, I guess. So I was just curious about that, because these aren't the kind of questions that's what I like about this show that we're doing, because you get to ask the questions that you normally can't ask in public. I would be attacked for asking some of these questions.
I have a comment about the foster care situation. I think that people kind of use the foster care situation as another, like, reason you don't want children to end into the foster care. Usually the foster care, which I have been in foster care growing up, it's a reunification process.
Yeah.
And typically it's a reunification with their biological parents. And so these are children who have been, you know, their parents are struggling through life at some circumstance, and they're trying to help the parents and the children at the same time.
Yeah.
I can't remember which state it was exactly, but they had a 70% success rate of reunifying. So the foster care system, to prevent babies being aborted, is that they don't all necessarily end up in foster care for it. It's a whole nother process and a whole nother animal, to say you know, that that's a reason for abortion too.
Yeah.
Oh, me? Okay. So, have you actually seen that YouTube video released recently on how abortions were done? Or no? Well,
I'm not dying. I'm wrong.
you sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
There's two videos. I think Lance, you've seen them both. It's where one that shows you how abortion's done, and then two, there's a woman walking in, and
I'm alive.
there's a woman walking in saying she was pregnant, she wanted to be aborted, and all the procedures that they said that they did was not being done.
Mm-hmm.
So, even because the argument, a lot of times I hear the argument, well, if you make it illegal, they're just going to do it anyway. But it almost seems that they're doing it anyway in unsafe places anyway, because procedures are being broken. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, wouldn't it being legal right now isn't really helping it anyway. You still have people getting infections, you still have people who shouldn't be, but like I said, they're not following procedures, that they're messing it up.
Yeah, well, you have to think about medicine and, like, widespread, not just outside of abortion. There are so many, like, lawsuits against doctors and stuff for malpractice, so, and you get people can get infections from just being in the hospital in general, so things like that can happen in a day-to-day, but...
And on Planned Parenthood, do you stay the night after you do abortion, or don't you go straight home?
I think it's like a couple hours.
Yeah, I think it's a few hours.
It's an outpatient procedure.
Yeah, so I mean, there's also that too. I mean, it's
Well,
not like
what I would like to know is just they've got all these videos out, both sides.
Mhm.
There's videos on both sides,
Yeah.
and trying to find a happy medium where the truth lies. Because you got the undercover videos that they were showing, then you have some videos of some doctors who have come out and said, you know, this is wrong because this is how it's done. Just some people think it's wrong just when you look at it. Now the question is, in some of those videos they say that the patients never actually know the full procedure. They don't have a full understanding of it. Some people are saying, like, even if we were just to curb it a little bit by saying, look, you have to at least have a full understanding of what's about to happen, the choice you're about to make, and all that stuff. And some people have a problem with that because there have been videos of these Planned Parenthood
I
facilities
personally think
saying
you should go to therapy before you do this. Like 100%.
some countries do require that. I don't know if we do.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. I know there's a lot of people who do get abortions and afterwards they regret it and they hate themselves for it and they
It's
do
a
end
whole
up
mental health aspect
exactly.
afterwards.
No, that's and they
Because it's in our innate nature as a parent, as a mother, to mourn your death of your baby because
Yeah.
you know.
I just never heard a mother go, "This is the worst mistake of my life," versus someone who did abort go, I should have never done that." I've just never heard the other side to that.
I've heard both sides. I've heard people that are like, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't be where I am today without the decision I made. And then I've
People
heard
are proud of
I've
it.
heard-
some
yeah, I'm
people
about to
are
say,
very
I've
proud
seen some
of it
videos
and they're
recently
very
when they're
loud
like,
about
"Ask me
it.
about my abortion."
So what I'm saying is, the ones that I feel people regret it more than they don't regret it.
Right.
Because people who have the kids, they aren't like, "Man, I should have aborted that motherfucker."
Well, a lot of people don't
My
really
dad
talk
called me the little
about
abortion
it.
guy.
Yeah, they don't. It's a lot like mental health in general. Like people, they don't talk about it. It's hush hush. Like if they don't know, they don't know. It's one of those things. And so I agree that when it comes to something like people like to downplay how big of a deal abortion is. And like I said, I'm pro-choice, but I completely agree that you need to be sure that like the decision you're making is the right decision for you, and whether that's going to counseling or offering in the clinic some kind of like mental health evaluation, something, just because the repercussions from it, if you're not mentally stable from something like this, it could be the next day or it could be years down the road. You could have a full mental breakdown and hate yourself, and all these other repercussions happen because of your decision.
Suicide.
Exactly.
The
No, I
suicide
know.
rate is, I don't know the exact rate, but it's significant among women who have had abortions. There is a documentary called Blood Money, The Business of Abortion, and it's women who've had abortions, and they talk about how their life is now. And they also discuss, there's one lady who worked at the abortion clinic, and she would basically, there was no sort of conversation between the doctor at all. It was they would sign them up, and then the doctor wouldn't come in until it was time for the procedure. So when they say that, it's between you and your doctor, there's really not a doctor present. It's just you going in and them, because they make money per abortion. And so it is sometimes in their interest to pretend that they are pregnant when truly they aren't. And she even said in some instances when their pregnancy tests would come back negative, they would go and do an ultrasound and point at any given mass inside of them and say that she was pregnant, and that they would try to convince her at that very given moment, because in that moment you're so overwhelmed that they think that if you leave, you might overthink things and not come back for the abortion. So it is in that moment that they want you to make that decision. And this is where people who may not have even been pregnant and have to live with something that they thought they've done for the rest of their lives. And so this is really a whole nother issue when it comes to Planned Parenthoods and the way that they organize the money. They even sell the fetal tissue to the government. They just ended a very large contract, millions, that the government was paying to get this.
Was that the stem cell collection stuff when they were collecting the aborted fetuses for stem cells?
I don't know. I just had a flashback to Alex Jones. Keep the babies comfortable.
Oh yeah.
So,
The Ralph Northam comments. Well, there is undercover video. I digress to another video. There's undercover video of a woman who goes in and to get hired. I forget what her title was, but when she was hired, they went in and they had this basically a clear cake pan over a light, and they came and dumped stuff in there, and they had to pick out portions of the baby, and each portion of the baby is a price. And so certain things are more valuable, like your heart and your brain. So it's very gruesome. She actually said she passed out at that very instant because she was so, I guess, mortified by what she was seeing.
You said there was undercover footage of that?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
and they get in trouble over that undercover footage too? Or is that a different video?
It was shut down. They invaded the man's home that was running it, and they took all of the videos, even the unreleased videos. It was a big debacle.
Oh my god, wait, can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
Oh, I was about to say, I said it, and then I was like, oh my gosh,
No,
wait,
no,
what
no.
am I not supposed to?
We're listed as explicit.
I'm waiting for YouTube to ban us because like I said, episode 2, we trashed Scientology unintentionally.
I wasn't invited for that.
We really try to remain neutral, but we couldn't on that one.
We was talking about religion, and next thing you know, they veered into Scientology and just pound that thing out.
So I want to get to the heart of some of the arguments of both sides, because I want some good clarification on where we believe. At what point do you believe that it's a baby now? It's a life. And what point is it not?
Well, for me personally, I believe that once it's conceived, it's a baby. That's just, I never call it a fetus or anything like that. Like I said, for me personally, I will never get an abortion. It's not for me, but I know there's some people out there that are like, until it pops out, it's not a baby, it's a fetus. Like, there's a lot of people that are super strong about that.
Let's back up. So you're saying you believe at conception it's a baby. It's in there. It's alive.
Like, once it's alive, heartbeat, everything, it's a baby.
So if there were two men over there and one of them was beating one to death and about to shoot him, would you feel like you had an obligation to do something about that, like call the police or try to stop it?
Yeah, probably.
So why not in the abortion case?
Because it's, like I said, I feel that it is a baby. That's just, I don't think that it's not, obviously, but when it's something like that, it's more of, it's not my business to be in what someone else does with their body. I don't agree with abortions personally, but I don't feel like it's my job to take away someone else's choice.
So it's about the choice, really?
Yes, it's not so much what I believe.
So now we're getting into a morality debate.
Yes.
So my question to that is, wasn't besides for rape victims, we're going to exclude that for this one. Isn't their choice to do what they did, as well as the guys? I'm not excluding the guy, but it was their choice to play with fire. Hence, they got pregnant. That was a choice they made.
See, but this is just but I hate that argument because it almost sounds like having a baby is like a punishment for having sex whenever. I just hate that
Well, it's
term.
not
I don't know
a punishment.
why. Because
I think
that's just what it sounds
outcome.
like.
Yeah, it's an
I know it's an
outcome.
Yeah, I
outcome,
think
but
there's a
the way that a
misunderstanding
lot of
of that.
people say that, the way that it's always worded just always sounds like, well, like this is what happens, like you have to deal with the consequences, and it's just like, if you decide to have a baby, you shouldn't have to look at it like, oh, this is your consequence. Like,
Well, you
it's your
shouldn't look
baby.
at it like that. But at the same time, if you're looking to abort something and you go, well, it's your fault for taking my right away to abort it, it's not really his fault for blocking a path that you chose to go down. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it takes two.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not excluding the guy, because at the end, if the guy doesn't want to take care of it, that's child
Well,
support.
no, actually,
Yeah.
actually, I think the laws about guys' involvement
too
that
lenient.
are too lenient.
Yeah,
I think,
I think that
stricter.
100%. 'Cause I'm not excluding the guy from that at all. But what I'm saying is, you knew what could happen from that.
Mhm.
So I mean, you thought there was going to be an easy outcome, but that's not life. Life isn't about easy stuff. Life's about when something happens, you
You work through it.
work through it,
Yeah.
and they're not working through it. Instead, they are taking the easy way out, which really is not supposed to, not natural, because your body also goes through a lot of changes for women after abortion because they were expecting this baby, and now it didn't happen. So you're actually making these hard consequences on your body, which a lot of doctors don't approve of that. It's
And I feel like they don't tell you about it beforehand. either.
exactly, and I just don't agree with that in a way.
So yeah, I'm trying to understand the. So you're saying because you think you don't like it being said like that because it sounds like it's a punishment.
It just makes it sound like having a kid is a punishment, and I feel like that's
Well,
just
you're
wrong,
correct.
because-
That's a problem with wording.
exactly
Because really,
so.
it's a responsibility.
Oh yeah.
But
definitely.
every decision you make carries responsibility. This one's just a big responsibility.
Oh yeah.
So I guess you're probably right about that. The wording is probably the problem there, though.
Yeah,
not
but
really
a lot of people like to do that as almost like a shaming thing whenever people get abortions or say things like that or talk about it. It's just, I don't know, that's one of the arguments that just always annoys me when people come at it like that, because I'm like, they make it sound like having a kid or even just someone getting like teen pregnancy in general. They're like, oh, well, like, what'd you expect to happen? Like, there's consequences.
Teen mom.
I think that would be more
Yeah.
of disappointment.
Yeah.
I have some experience that with family members, so it's
same.
more of a people look at them and go, I'm just disappointed that you made these choices.
Yeah.
Not,
Well, that's the thing.
Oh
'cause
no,
usually
I
with-
understand.
With
Yeah.
family, when you come out to that, they're never upset about the pregnancy. They're just upset about the choice.
yeah, half the
Yeah.
time they love the baby.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like, they
same,
come
no.
out there like, oh, I love this baby. I mean, yeah, it came from what you did, but I still love this baby.
See,
It's
we
not-
have a joke running in my family that I'm the best, that I'm, what we would say? Basically, every single woman in my family has had a child before the age of 18, and I'm the only one that has gone through teenage years and not had a child, and so it's just a running joke always
Oh, my-
that I'm the only one in my family that knows how to beat teen pregnancy. So
My dad was very strict about that. I mean, I made it all the way to my 30s without having kids. I mean, my dad was like, you get a girl pregnant, and that's it. You done.
I had my first kid at 19. I was between my first and second year of college. And I was not probably
Prepared?
mature enough.
It's amazing how fast that'll mature you, though.
well off enough financially, or stable.
Mhm.
And she's 15 and amazing.
yeah, my
So I
sister.
couldn't imagine anything different.
Yeah, my sister had her son whenever it was a month after she turned 18. She was still in it was a month after she turned 18 and 2 weeks after she graduated high school. And he is about to turn 10 next month. He's the light of all of our lives. I love him so much. And I've had this conversation with her before, asking, like, because she, at the time, she had a full ride scholarship for playing soccer in college, out of state. She had her whole life planned out, and then she got pregnant. So she lost her scholarship. She couldn't be on the soccer team anymore. She had a scholarship for soccer and track. She lost all of that, and then it was just like one thing after another. And the way that she found out she was pregnant, she actually went to the hospital because she had her appendix ruptured. And right before the surgery, they were like, well, because you're pregnant, we can't give you general anesthesia. And she was
she's
like,
like,
what?
what?
I'm pregnant? And my mom was in the room. So the first thing my mom did, obviously, was like call my grandparents and my aunts and be like, oh my God, Alyssa's having a child. And so my sister at the time had said multiple times that like she felt like she never got to process it because the choice was made for her. But she still says to this day, son is the light of her life. She never changed anything.
Yeah.
But it's just that bothered her that her choice was taken away, that she, even if she wanted to put him up for adoption, anything, she just said that because my mom got so excited and just told everyone, because that was her first grandkid, that she felt like her choice wasn't her own, that she just had to do it. But like I said, he's turning 10 this year, and she was in college, worked 2 or 3 jobs. We all babysat. She lived with us for the first 2 or 3 years of his life.
Yeah, it's
And
hard.
so it's hard, but
not
she
easy.
did it, like, and she's got out of it. And so I think that's one reason why, like, my views on abortion are the way they are, just because I watched her struggle. You know what I mean? Like, she lived with us until, like I said, he was probably 3 or 4, and then she moved out and then moved back and had all these jobs, and we always had to babysit. And she's, like I said, she's working on her 3rd degree right now, working full time. Her husband is too. She has 2 more sons, and everything worked out in the end. Like you said, like,
Yeah.
you can come out of any circumstance. You just have to be willing to work through it.
And not be a victim of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we
Exactly.
asked her. We didn't ask you. What point do you think the baby is alive?
Alive?
Well, it's a baby.
It's a baby,
Sorry.
yeah.
Well, as soon as the sperm enters to the egg,
So conception.
yes, because
So you
it
both agree
has
with that.
the
You both agree at
natural.
conception,
Yeah.
And you
which
would-
differs for some people.
do you disagree with the morning after pill as well?
That is part of
Okay.
abortion. Yeah.
Okay.
See, I completely think a morning after pill should be available, just because I know so many people that have had experiences that they're just like, I don't want to have a kid right now, like, because I feel like that's not an abortion, because it can only be effective within the first 3 days after you had unprotected sex.
It's forcing a miscarriage.
It's basically what it
stops
is.
it from attaching.
Yeah.
And then it comes out.
Yeah, but it's just
I'm not agreeing though. I'm just saying that's what I'm
No, but I love the fact that we do have something like that available, just because it's kind of like oh shit, I messed up. Like, what do I do? Instead
Actually, what
of
used to be called the oh shit pill.
it's like instead of panicking for 2 or 3 weeks, however long your period comes, and doing all this, it's like you have a choice to go and just like first day before you, like the sperm could not even be implanted yet, and you've already made the decision. So you're not even really you're not hurting anything because there's not even anything there yet. And I feel like most people I know that have taken it probably aren't even pregnant. They're just terrified and they take it anyway because they're just like, oh, just in case, like, I'm going to buy one and take it. So,
With that being said,
I mean,
no.
I'm being
that's-
honest.
How do you feel about the men's perspective? Like, do you think a man has any perspective in this? Some
Yeah.
people will shut that down immediately.
I
well,
feel
Lance,
like,
you're a man. We shouldn't talk about that.
I'm curious.
Stop mansplaining things.
I know.
oh my gosh. So,
Time to femsplain. Come on.
so I mean, I'm not like a full-fledged, like, hardcore pro-choicer, as y'all can tell.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out. I'm trying to get a balance of the arguments here.
I'm about, like, I'm like in the middle. Like, I see both reasonings for both sides. I agree with both things on both sides completely, but it's just,
For the
I
record,
still,
don't mean to cut in.
no, you're fine.
I preferred someone like that because the ones that I found that wanted to come on
Yeah,
immediately
sure if they
attacked me when I
cooperate.
asked a single question. So I was
Oh.
like, oh, this is going to be a yell fest at me and Lance and how we are men and we don't belong on Earth. So I'm just going to find someone who we can talk to.
Which, by the way, y'all are welcome to come on. Don't kill us.
But how I feel with all this is I just feel like there's not enough women representation in government in general. And so when it comes to things like making like abortion laws, the reason why so many people get mad is because there's not enough women in office to be able to make like a balance, like fair, or even not just women, just like people of all races and everything else.
Well,
Like,
anyone can run.
it just depends
True.
on.
There's more women in this country
Yeah.
than there are men, and they vote.
Anyone can run for office. It's essentially who,
Gets voted.
and a lot of Republican women did run. I know this is completely off the topic.
No, you're fine.
But like a lot of women were not elected on the Republican side, and so there are women running. They're just not
Being
winning
elected,
for
yeah.
whatever.
I lost my question. That quick.
That was
Oh my
fast.
gosh. But no, I know that, and I know that this year one of the last year, whenever the last elections were, there were a lot of women being represented, getting elected in other states, either whether Democrat or Republican. And so I just think in general that when it comes to, I'm trying to think how to describe this, because I'm not saying that men should not have a single say-so in anything to do with the women's body. That's not at all what I'm saying. Because
my wife has everything to say for mine.
I'm say, because if we want to get into that, then if you want to say that men should not have a single say-so about a woman's body, then someone could bring up the argument about, well, why are mothers getting their young children circumcised if they shouldn't have a say-so in men's bodies?
That argument actually has been made.
That's what I'm saying. The argument has
being
been made, and I just there's no like fair one way or another. People, you know what I mean? It's just.
Well, that's where we come back to the basic morality. Because, like I said, the basic pro-life standpoint, in my understanding of it, is that's a life, you murdered it. Mm-hmm. How do you justify that?
See, and a lot of people that I know that are pro-life are also, this is an argument I hear a lot, it's not random, trust me, they're also, like, pro-death penalty.
Yeah,
and so
that's different.
I know it's different.
I can tell you
I know it's different. I know how it's separate. I'm saying, like, a lot of arguments that people that are pro-choice make is they're like, how are you not okay with an abortion, but you're okay with killing this person for this and that? I understand
killing an
why.
innocent versus killing someone who has
massacred, raped. I mean, I think anyone who rapes somebody should be put to death.
Yeah, which brings up the whole chemical castration thing. We'll talk about that in another episode.
Well,
see, and that's like
stuff like that, molestation and all that. I think that's it. That's the line. At some point, I don't believe they should come back into society like that. Or put them on an island somewhere. Let them do what they want.
People who are pro-choice, why are they anti-death penalty? If you're okay killing the innocent, why are you not okay killing?
See, that was the next point I was gonna make. That it's crazy how they're like one and another. Like you think it'd be the same, but it's opposite.
Yeah, because I could tell you that's. Just like we were just saying, that's usually the standpoint is it's an innocent life. It hasn't even given a chance to do anything wrong versus this person who has repeatedly done atrocious acts against all of society.
And has been convicted by a jury of his peers.
Yeah.
Right.
So
and in this case, we're talking about a single person making a sole decision.
Right. So Julie, if you banned abortions, if you, President Julie right here, you banned abortions,
which can't be done by a president, but go ahead.
Queen Julie,
Supreme Court.
No, you got this army, you ran in here.
She's queen.
Yeah,
she's basically mother
queen.
of dragons. Is what she is.
Like we're bowing down to you. What would you put up any system for people like women who want to abort and try to help them?
Yeah, what would be your ideal system?
Because they would still try to do it. So would you try to be proactive and try to help them in a way, or?
Usually women in those circumstances are extremely confused or scared because they don't know when or, what to do and where to turn. And so I feel like having more access to mental health facilities, better access to, I'm going to go back into Planned Parenthood because it is been said, I don't know how true it is, that they give them contraceptives that are not 100% effective. They give them like off-brands and things that are not going to work because they want them to be a repeat customer. I don't know how true that is, but you need to offer 100% in inspections on these sort of things that people are doing and are using to prevent pregnancies.
Wait, I'm sorry. So you're saying that I know you said you don't know if it's true or not, but basically that Planned Parenthood, when they're giving birth control, it's like the generic versions. And
I'm not sure how, but they said that it wasn't 100% effective. So I don't know what type, if it would be a generic brand or if it's not a good brand to use.
But no contraceptive is 100% effective.
No, I think she's saying they're the thing she's saying is
defective.
they're purposely giving ineffective birth control so that they would get pregnant so that they could perform.
And what they're saying is, it's not 100%, so you can't blame me for that.
Yeah. So that goes back to
but we don't
poking a condom with a.
But it's also I feel like this has a whole
we can't prove any of that.
world of issue with the breakdown of the family unit because people are not getting married and having, because when you were in the 60s or the 70s, they didn't have premarital sex. They got married at 16, 17 years old, and they were married, and then they would have their children. So the dynamics are completely different because, you know, in today's society, we all look around and it's okay to be single. It's okay to be a single parent. People don't judge you as like they did then. And that's a wonderful progressive thing. But you also have these breakdown of family units where you don't have the father's home. And you have this whole other issue. And so there are specific things to, I don't want to get too political in this situation, but there is specific laws that attack.
I must say, feel free to get political.
Not to cut you off, but at this point, I mean, this is a political debate.
we are.
We can't avoid that, no matter what we do.
As much as we want to keep it on topic,
we haven't even
politics
posted
on
this
other
yet.
things are going to fall in.
We haven't posted it yet, and I'm guaranteeing people are commenting on this video already, cursing us out.
Somebody prepared.
Yeah.
Somebody prepared their comment already, but it's okay because we're going to give both sides their opportunity.
Right.
So
I'm ready to get told that I'm stupid and had no idea what I'm talking about.
it's okay because that's actually one of the things that we're promoting on the show is if you come on the show, you do the debate, people comment, people contrast, they can come on and say what they want to say, and you can come back and debate it again and debate the other point or whatever they say about you, and it's okay to be wrong.
People are so quick to have an opinion.
Oh my gosh,
and
I
not
know.
have a face.
Yes.
Well, my whole point of this podcast was honestly just to get people to talk and not curse at each other and yell. Like, that's my whole purpose of this, is just to show people can disagree, and at the end of the day, we're fine. It's not like we have to say, you know, burn your family alive while watching stuff like that.
Especially when it comes to the abortion debate, because you can watch the internet all day and see people that are like, he should die because of his opinion.
I mean,
I'm like, what? That's a little crazy.
There's people who are outside of abortion clinics that are yelling and cussing and everything else at people going into them, and then there's people on the other side telling pro-lifer, and then there's pro-lifers telling other people that they deserve to die for not agreeing with them.
Yes,
so
I think there are extremists
on both sides.
But the problem I think is coming into now is the extreme is becoming the standard.
Yeah.
Because now, I mean, we're talking about people actually passing laws saying you can kill the baby after it's been born. I mean, it's come out. It's alive. It's on its own.
It's a law in in New York that you can abort the baby up and until afterwards. Yeah.
They can make the decision. Do you still want to keep it? It's right here.
See, that is insane to me. I just don't understand. I will never understand anything.
I would love to try to find somebody who agrees with it. I haven't found anybody yet. We're from Louisiana. You're not going to find many people that go that far with that.
Yeah,
but
my sister's an extremist. Should I call her?
Yes. I want to know their opinion. I don't understand it. I can't even fathom it. I'm like, why? What?
Me and Lance been thinking about quitting our jobs and just moving to California for a couple months and just trying to do this out there. See
There's
what
only
happens.
certain areas of California, I feel like, not the entire
California
state.
is completely divided. It's up north.
We'll find a place.
The northern part I hear is very conservative.
We'll go to
The southern
Hollywood.
part
I
is
feel like
very
they
liberal.
are very up there with that
Los
decision.
Angeles, just go
I feel
straight
like
to
going
Los
to
Angeles.
New York would be your best bet.
I would, but I feel like New York is a lot more brutal. Like, I'm not offend somebody with saying this, but I feel like LA is more of a slap fight. New York is going to stab you, take your money, and pee on you while you bleed out.
And then
That's just that kind of.
and then, well, plus we're from the South, which means that you're used. I mean, as much as we don't really notice Southern hospitality, it is so
Well, that's
real.
what I'm
It
saying.
really is
But I
real.
feel like California's
Just-
a little different because California's like, stop it, silly. And like New York's like,
Oh
I'm
my
gonna
God.
fucking kill you. I'm like, I just looked at you, sir. I'm so sorry.
And they gonna step over you while you're bleeding out.
Yeah, that's what. No, they're gonna watch you. They're gonna
Love
enjoy
you,
it.
New York. Anyway, so that's so. What about you? What's your ideal system when it comes to this topic?
My ideal system.
How would you like to see things change if you could do it?
Because you're against
with the signing of a pen, you could change all of this.
I know you're against the ban that Louisiana just did, as well
Yes.
as all these other states. So
I do not like that ban just because how early on it is. Because, I don't know, but my ideal system would be more... I mean, some people already complained about how long the process is to get an abortion already, but I feel like it needs to be a process because it's not a small thing. It is a big deal. And so I think there needs to be more steps in it. Like I said before, like making sure that like this is a decision you want, seeing some kind of therapist or counselor like afterwards or like before and then also afterwards to be sure that like you're in the right mind state. I feel like there should be a cutoff point. I can't remember when exactly it is that babies are like guaranteed to survive on their own when they're born. Is it like 6 months? 5 months or 6 months when it's like, but I feel like whatever.
They just had a 23-week-old baby.
23-week-old baby survived. I mean, of course, it's having assistance, but I mean, a baby born at 9 months still needs assistance.
Yeah, I mean, it's circumstantial for every person and every baby, but the fact that, like, full-grown babies can get aborted at, like, 7 months old, when normally they would, if you had, like,
an emergency
if you had,
C-section,
exactly,
the baby
would have survived. That really bothers me. And just like you said before, when
24 weeks is 24 weeks is currently the point where they believe it can survive. But like I said, that could be changed since recently they had a 23-week-old baby.
Well, in either way, and then around that time should be a cutoff point, just because once the baby is able to survive on his own, then it could be put into adoption, which, like you said before, actual like teeny babies, there's waiting lists for them to be adopted. And so and then, like I said, afterwards, you have to have follow-ups with some type of therapist, mental health professional, to be sure that, like, you are still mentally okay with after the decision that you made, because it is a big deal. And I feel like a lot of people like to downplay it and be like, oh, it's not a big deal.
So that's
like,
where you believe the age thing should come into it, because
Yes.
you can't make a clarity decision on that because you're not old enough, you're saying, to make that kind of decision?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like, obviously, if someone is a child and gets raped, like 13, 14, and God forbid actually does end up pregnant, because it does happen, that parents consent, working with a counselor, the family, the parents, the child makes the decision. But when it comes to just in general, like walking in without a parent with you, making your own decision, 18. That's how I feel, just because that's everything else.
Do you feel like there's a limit on abortions?
Like a certain amount you can get?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you go into that.
Yeah, what if you got like a serial aborter?
I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
that's
saying.
an
Like,
issue.
I've heard that argument. Like, where it's like, I should be able to walk in and have 3 abortions. I'm like, what? Like, at that point, shouldn't that be a life decision? You should recap on that. But
Yeah,
do
at
you
that
believe there
point-
should be a limit?
Yes, because like that should. Well, not necessarily. They're like gonna keep track and be like, "Oh, this is your second abortion this year."
Here's
like,
your punch card.
I know.
exactly like that. But
The
I
fourth
just
one,
feel
Your
like
biscuit's free.
I feel like if it comes down to those terms, then it's like they need to, like, let's say like after your second or something, they're like, "Look, this has already happened a bunch. Like, this is like somewhere like." I mean, there's clinics everywhere that can give you like free birth control, things like that. Like, I've had to do that in the past, and so it's like, sit down with them, give you some kind of contraceptives, explain to them like how to do it correctly, what steps you need to take to ensure this doesn't happen again. Because
I kind of feel like
This
that
is how
should
the
be.
condom goes on.
Well, no, I kind of feel like that should be just in school itself.
yeah,
at
school
that
still
point.
teaches abstinence.
Sex ed, don't they? Don't
No.
they have sex
No,
ed?
we get
But that-
abstinence.
yes, they do
Yes.
have sex ed, but it's nothing like
It's
they. You're like,
literally abstinence, and then this is what happens if you don't have sex, and it's just like a bunch of diseases, and that's it.
and they show a baby coming out.
The fear tactic.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that too, because I remember that they
Yeah.
really encourage the fear tactic. Be afraid of sex. Be afraid of sex.
We had-
They're never gonna believe that. I mean, you watch TV and everybody's like, "Sex is amazing."
I mean, we
Well,
had.
I feel like this is where parents need to come in and talk to their kids. Me
Oh.
as a parent, I feel like I homeschool, so I'm their teacher and their parent, all of the same thing. So
Kudos to you, girl.
I have to kind of give them that education on their own, but their number one source of information and their main person in their life is their parents.
Yeah, the parents don't see it that way. I think South Park hit it on point way back when the whole dog incident with the Red Rocket. If you haven't seen it, just go look at it. The
YouTube
parent,
it.
like,
Oh my
so
God.
the kids were like playing with the dog doing a Red Rocket. It was a game they did, and essentially they were getting the dog aroused. And the parents freaked out, and they go, first thing they say is, "How can the school not tell them about this? We need to go up to school and take care of this." And they hired this guy who didn't know anything about sex. I mean, our sex ed, healthcare, so they call it a healthcare teacher, was a coach that was on the verge of death. he kind of just sat there and counted days.
And
It wasn't-
granted, I took it my senior year of high school, so it was like
I took it my sophomore. Well, that's the thing. That was the funny thing. They required you to have 2 years of PE, and then you could do that.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how
That
our
seems
school works.
backwards, huh?
Well, that was the thing. I think it should be taught as early as junior high at some point. I mean, these kids are.
in junior high, we had a health class, but there was no sex education in it. And I
Yeah.
remember specifically asking about it,
Why
like,
isn't that taught in like biology or?
why
I mean,
isn't it
maybe
taught
take
early?
science and
Why isn't
biology.
it
Now,
taught
again-
isn't that
earlier
part
than
of it?
junior
Again,
high?
we
I feel
are-
like that should be something that is implemented at a young age and taught through life, so
Again-
that it's not so like taboo. I don't understand anything about sex. Like, what is a penis? Vagina is a dirty word. Like, I just
We
feel
are
like
in
that's
Louisiana, though, so there's no
Very
telling.
true. Very true.
So
What are we,
don't-
49th in the school
Exactly,
system?
so, like, don't-
in the
That's why I
States?
homeschool.
Oh gosh,
Do you-
these people are about to be like, that's why they're so stupid. Okay, they're from Louisiana.
It's like one's a cable guy, he's dumb as shit.
Hairdresser, that's not a real degree. Like,
They're gonna like
for it.
Julie's a financial investigator. We're not gonna mess with her. because
She has
she's gonna-
facts.
Yeah,
She's smart.
she's gonna find out something about me. I don't want to know.
Oh no.
Do you believe in birth control, Julie?
I do believe in birth control.
Because I know some people who are religious don't believe in that it should lead to marriage. So that's just.
There are people that are more religious about their views of having sex, but in this day and age, it's probably very slim population.
I think,
I-
I think maybe that's why this whole conversation it gets so difficult because everybody draws the line at different places.
I just think you should push more, be proactive than letting it just happen.
Well, I mean,
Reactive,
I think
It's a
I think,
multi-pronged,
yeah, I think everybody can agree with that, but
But that's not the argument being made
Well-
because like we're pushing Planned Parenthood, and Planned Parenthood does give birth control.
Yes.
They do a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of abortion,
Oh yeah, when a lot
but
of
their
people,
moneymaker is abortion.
Yeah, I'm saying a lot of people complain that that they're being funded and this and that, but they do offer like other things besides just abortions.
yeah, I think they offer mammograms.
Mm-hmm.
well, see, I didn't,
Mammograms,
I didn't understand that part. And-
See,
and-
I've been there one time before because
to an actual Planned Parenthood.
yeah,
thing?
but I was going for birth control prescription, so I went in. I made an appointment, and it sucked because it took me like a month and a half to get in there anyway, just to do that.
What?
Yeah.
Doesn't the clinic do the same?
Could you do us a favor? Could you go in there and just say you want to have an abortion and see how fast they talk to you?
No.
No.
YouTube. No,
I don't know if that's
we're
how
not
it
doing
works.
anything like that. We're not being demonetized.
No, I'm just curious.
I don't know
I'm-
how that
she's-
would work.
I never. I don't
how
know.
that
I
would
can't
work.
go in there. Walk
What
in there.
about
"Oh,
your
what an
thought
abortion!"
process on like eugenics? Do you feel like abortion may be some form of eugenics in like in regards to if your baby may have some medical illness like multiple sclerosis and you can detect that? Would you abort? Do you?
Me personally, I would not. Just that, I feel like a lot of times people have that same argument when it comes to like babies being born with like Down syndrome and stuff. And to
Isn't-
me, that's just
Isn't Iceland, weren't they doing, or New Zealand or something like that? Weren't they doing something like
They
that?
were
trying-
there was some people encouraging
abortion
it.
for kids who had autism and Down syndrome
see
and stuff
that
like
is
that.
horrible.
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube where like they had this autistic, I think he's like 19 or 20. He's at the Supreme Court, like almost in tears, right?
Oh, I
saying
did
his
see that. I
speech,
did see that.
saying
No,
like
no.
I'm a human being too.
See-
Y'all are trying to abort me in a sense.
When it comes to stuff like that, I get when people try to make that argument about like that's why they should, because their baby's going to be born with cystic fibrosis, so they're only going to live to be like 25 maybe. I know two people that I used to be really, really close friends with who right now they're in their 20s, and besides having to go to the hospital every few months and doing breathing treatments daily, live perfectly healthy lives with this disease that will kill them someday. But right now, like just with that, as more and more research is being done, like the like life expectancy for them has just been going up and up and up. It used to be 15, 16, then it was 20s, then it was 30s, and like so things like that. Just that really aggravates me so much when people try to use that as an excuse to like get one. Because when I was in high school and in college, I worked with people that were in like special education and people who had Down syndrome and things like that, and they were the purest, sweetest people I've ever met and talked to in my entire life. Like they just, no matter what their situation, they had such an amazing outlook on everything. And so the fact that someone would abort them because of that, like that really just pisses me off more than anything.
But could
because
you say the same thing about women who make that choice for a kid? I mean, me and Lance have a friend that he already told us, like, if it was really up to his dad, he wouldn't be here today. And his dad would tell him that to this day.
yeah.
And, like, he feels he's very pro-life
But,
about this because
like-
he's, like, he grew up, sorry, I didn't mean.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
But he grew up, like, dirt poor to where they were not eating every other day.
But
like he got lucky to, and he says like it might have sucked, but he still wouldn't have traded because he'd rather be alive than
Yeah.
dead. And so I get the make your choice part, but shouldn't that fetus baby have the choice?
that's
in the
what
end?
I was about to say, and this is just my opinion for me personally, is what I was going to say. So when it comes to stuff like that, it's still I feel like someone should have the choice where if they don't want to have, even how horrible it is, and it's just pissing me off saying this, if someone doesn't want to have a child with Down syndrome, it should be their decision. And I hate that, and it pisses me off. And like I said, I'm not pro-abortion, but I am pro-choice. So the fact that people are getting abortions, I hate it. But it's just...
So I have a follow-up to that. The founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, she believed in eugenics and wanted to essentially eliminate the black population.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
The founding of Planned
I have
Parenthood
a
was
quote.
was actually based on curbing the African American population.
So quote
Well,
unquote.
That is not an opinion, by the way, people. That is true. It is
Margaret
Yes.
Sanger, I have the quote, "We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population," Margaret Sanger. So abortion disproportionately affects the black community. And at some point, the black community's population will start decreasing. And that it is known that they put these Planned Parenthoods in these communities to target the underprivileged, the poor, and a lot of them tend to be in black communities. New Orleans, the ones like right there in the middle of a lot. And so, how do you feel about Planned Parenthood and their
past.
past, but how do you feel about like them being a part of that situation?
Yeah, that was the point I was actually going to bring up when it comes to stuff like that, because me personally, I think that their past is disgusting. Like, I'm in an interracial relationship, so it's like that is just mind blowing to me, basically. But it's just
Technically, so am I. I can't.
Forgot about that.
Technically, I am too, I guess.
oh well, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm dating a dark
Except for
skin,
you.
so it's like it's
Get
real.
woke.
My son is a Latino. Mind your business.
Damn, we are some diverse group
We
right
really
here.
are. We are
And
some,
we're still racist.
we are some cis
Somehow we're
white.
racist.
Somehow we are racist.
like,
I chose the black iPhone, just so you know. Anyway,
God.
sorry, I
So-
should have said that.
But no, that's something I was gonna bring up. I was gonna ask about when it comes to like inner city and how that it affects that the same way. Basically, I feel like when it comes to that, they're continuing the cycle of being poor, paying all this money for an abortion. Now you're just as poor. Like you get what I'm saying? When it comes to stuff like that, it's a cycle that they're doing and having them they're targeting those areas because they know that they can't afford a kid, but they'll scrounge
Yes,
up money.
but I worry about that because I know where you're going with that, and that's actually something that I worry about
Where's she
myself.
going with it?
Because they're pushing abortions there and making them completely government funded, tax funded. They want them to be able to completely get it. Isn't that controlling them more? Because if they had the baby, were forced to deal with it, they would probably, the behavior would change.
Yeah, because it's free, and so
Yeah,
like, why
because
not
you're
do
making
it?
it free.
Yeah,
They're like, why the hell not? You know, people are like, why not? I could just always go get an abortion, no problem. I mean, isn't that that goes back to what she was saying? The original idea was we can put a stop to a whole population, pretty much. I mean, that seems like it's encouraging that. I mean, I've recently listened to some talks by some of the people running for Democratic, president-elect and all that, and that's actually the argument they make. We need to make this more available to people of the Latin community, the black community. And I'm like, I know that comes across as a good thing, but when I start to think about it, it sounds like a bad thing. Like, why aren't you
The
saying that
Latin
for everybody?
community is
then?
actually second to the black community as far as getting abortions and the amounts, and then followed whites.
see, I just think that's so shitty that they're doing that, and that's the best way I can form those words to say that. It's that they're targeting that group. They're targeting these demographics because they're the minority, and
But this is coming from a party that
Says that.
supposedly is for minorities. No, I know. It's just, I just think the whole system is corrupt. And no matter which way you put it, it's going to be corrupt. And America as a whole, racism isn't dead. And just small things like that just prove that it's still alive and well.
Well, I don't think you can ever get rid. Well, also, let me clarify this. Because I had this discussion with somebody the other day. I think that word is used wrong too often, racism. Because what most people are talking about is actually prejudice, not racism. Racism is you believe your race to be superior to another or all. And then prejudice is you just have a reason to not
we gotta
dislike
eat sadness and drink ourselves to death, so my race is not superior in any type of way. I'm just saying.
The Irish. Okay, anyway. I found an article and from the Odyssey. I'm gonna give you the information so people don't think I just pulled it out of nowhere. It's from the Odyssey. It was on 29th of March 2016. They put it in. It's called 15 Reasons to Be Pro-Choice. I want to go through these and just kind of get y'all's opinion on them as we go through, and we'll go one by one if y'all don't mind. Everybody cool with that?
Yeah.
First, do y'all need something to drink? Y'all good?
Okay.
Everybody good? Bathroom breaks? All right, so number one, I am pro-choice because a pregnancy should never be mandatory. What are your thoughts?
I mean, like I said, for me personally, I don't agree with that, but as a whole...
Well, this is somebody else making this
argument.
argument.
But I'm saying that's someone else making the argument. So, I agree with that in the sense that I am pro-choice, and that if you don't want to have a kid, you shouldn't be forced to have one.
So, good.
I feel like mandatory is just terminology that people use to kind of play...
Make it sound...
your emotions to get you to respond in a certain manner. Again, it's a result of... It's an outcome of being pregnant, of having sex and then getting pregnant. It's an outcome. It's not mandatory. It's an outcome.
Yeah. So you're saying you it wasn't mandatory. You made that choice a while back, right?
Yeah. I mean, most people are aware of how to get pregnant. You know, it's not a mystery. It's
Unless you
To
watch
some
Storks.
it is.
Storks you get delivered.
All right, number two, I am pro-choice because sex is a natural aspect of human life. I don't even get that
I'm
one.
going to say, that's kind of confusing because if you're taking the right precautions and you're more than likely not going to get pregnant. I mean, I'm 21 years old.
I can read the rest
yet.
I can read the rest of this to clarify. So what they're saying is I'm pro-choice because sex is a natural aspect of human life. What they put on here is consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy. Like all sexually reproductive organisms, humans are naturally inclined to reproduce. Also, like many sexually reproductive species, humans frequently have sex for enjoyment. Humans are biologically and emotionally inclined to be sexual, and to punish humans for acting as such would... See, the's that word again.
It's like
again,
punish.
it's sex. Like
It's
the result of unprotected sex is pregnancy, and there's a specific time. I don't know if people understand this. I'm a woman. I have a woman log. On my woman log, it tells you when your next pregnancy is, and it also tells you when you're ovulating. Mm-hmm. So women know when they're ovulating.
Yep.
And if you could track your ovulation, you could just avoid sex during that point in time if you feel that you're not going to be safe.
Yep.
While having sex. These are for people who are not paying attention to their biological bodies and understanding the way that a child is conceived.
And I feel like that goes back to the sex ed argument that we were kind of saying earlier.
I'm ashamed to say I learned that way too late in life.
Yeah. Like, there's still guys out there
I
that
feel
don't...
like men should know too.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. I feel like some guys out there still don't even know that women don't pee out of their, vagina hole.
Okay,
like, there are two different holes.
Hold
That's
up.
another debate.
Hold up.
Some guys don't know that.
First of all, not a lot of women know that either.
Very true.
Let's clarify
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
The female orgasm is a myth.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so much that happens that needs to be taught, and whether we need to promote at home teaching your children about this from an earlier age. That's
another episode we'll be.
Let's say, do you think it's the family's
I feel like
responsibility, or is it the schools?
I feel like it needs to be.
I think it's
bigger.
the parents.
Yeah, I feel like it's the parents' responsibility, but also
Because
at
they know
school
their
it should be
children.
different. Yeah, like
They know their children. They know who they hang out with. I'm very aware of my child and what she's doing and not doing. Now, she has snuck out once, and we are now on birth control. So there is that. And so because I've had to have a situation where I was unsure of what she was doing, I immediately took action.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these parents, you're the one that's going to have to take your child to the doctor. Is she sexually active? Absolutely not. But when the time comes, she'll have the
I'm in check.
she'll
That's a myth, by the way.
have the birth control in
Yeah.
her body and understanding how to use it, when, you know, how effective it is, and she knows her body, so she's able to understand it much more. And she's 15. I know that there is girls at the age of 15 already having sex.
Yeah.
There's girls at the age of 12 having sex. This is Louisiana. They get down.
Whenever I was in 6th grade, someone in my class got pregnant and had a child in 6th grade. So I was like, what, 11, 12? So just throwing
So
that out
it
there.
happens.
Yeah.
And another thing is that these girls are maturing so much earlier, and this is probably a whole nother discussion, but I really believe it's the hormones and the foods that we're eating that are coming from these places that the government is allowing to go unchecked.
Girl,
What?
she gonna be on a few episodes because she said some topics that I have written down for
Yeah.
like episodes.
Okay. We'll save those.
But
for
no,
later.
I completely agree with that. Like, I spent a few years like looking into it. I'm not trying to like do this like, but from the time I was 18 till what? No, I was 16 till what? 19, I think. I didn't eat meat, and then I slowly started. And then I started eating seafood again because I live in Louisiana and that's all I eat. And then I started
It's
eating meat.
chicken
And
is mostly
Yeah.
because these chickens, they I don't know what it is. They give these chickens, but when you get them, they're huge.
yeah, and then there's
Oh.
there's some places that it's okay.
They
I
give
just
them
wanna,
hormones to
No, I'm
make
saying
them
we're
bigger.
we're getting into
Wait.
another debate. We need to save that. We need
I know,
that.
Yeah.
but I will say there is.
Okay, kill all
there's
our debate
small-
topics.
Oh my gosh, there is small like farms, like family farms, who raise their own animals and butcher their own animals and doing it just like outside normally how they have been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years. Now is
My wife
is technically unsanitary and it's illegal for them to sell it, even though.
my wife has been asking me to go find a chicken, kill it, and make chicken soup for her for this longest time.
I
Apparently
have
it's a
2
tradition
chickens
for
in
them.
my yard, and
She
we
wants
get
me to kill
eggs.
it.
And currently, we are composting as part of our homeschool, but I digress.
See, I love you
Okay,
as a mom.
so-
Can I come live with you? Like,
Do you believe there should be punishments for abortions? Doctors.
Do you think there should be repercussions?
I
Yes,
don't
sir.
feel
Oh,
that women
wait.
should
Not
be
punishment.
punished.
Let's
like
stay with
talking
that.
about that law, how like it's illegal, and if you go out of state to do it, you can be.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what I
Okay,
was
so
trying to
there's
say.
only been 2 women ever prosecuted.
Well, I'm not just talking about right now. I'm talking about if that happened in the like how would.
But
do
there
you
is an
personally
argument
believe?
out there that says that women are being persecuted. There have been doctors who were caught giving abortions, and this is pre-Roe versus Wade. I think it was 1911 and 1922 were the 2 years for that.
Explain what you just said for the people who don't know.
Roe versus Wade.
Yes.
And all that.
Okay.
Because we are a podcast with 4 listeners who I don't think are that smart. Sorry.
Oh, come on.
So explain to them.
We just lost the 4 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was either 1971 or 1972 that Roe v. Wade was passed. There is, I think there is a lady out there, the Roe, who
She actually regretted that. She said she
Yeah, I
she
heard that.
regretted her involvement
there's
in
a
that.
documentary on her if you want to go and watch it. That she felt like she was kind of pressured into it and didn't really know what was going on. But the Supreme Court ruled based on the 14th Amendment, which is like a privacy situation, that it should be really it's unconstitutional. They kind of pulled it out of
Yeah,
it.
I gotta say, so I've read a few things on Roe v. Wade just lately, and you have to be careful where you're getting information about Roe v. Wade because there's some misleading information where some people are putting online. It guaranteed the right to an abortion. It actually didn't at all.
It's nowhere in the Constitution that it says that.
All it says is that at the time of Roe v. Wade, they could not, with the current medical technology, say when the point of life began. And they just kind of kicked it back to the states saying, hey, it's up to each state for y'all to figure that out. So that's a big understanding that I've been seeing, misunderstanding I've been seeing with people, because a lot of people couldn't even couldn't give the actual what it did, you know. So
Sorry, continue with the
I just had it pulled up. That's what I was
the repercussions.
The repercussions for women or
Yeah, like
doctors?
both.
Okay,
Whichever
so
you
there
can
was
start.
only 2 cases in that, and one of them was a doctor who wanted to, I guess, diminish some of his responsibility and perhaps get a lighter sentence, which brought in the women that he gave abortions to, and it didn't stand. That was one of them. There was another one in Texas. I can't remember all of the information about that one, but that was the only time that women were prosecuted for it. Doctors, on the other hand, they have a financial gain from it, and they should have some repercussion if they're going and doing it something that's illegal. For example, if you went in there and they did something illegal and, I don't know, took out an extra organ or something and sold your kidney on the black market, or that's illegal, and so there would be repercussions. So if someone goes in my body and takes something out of me, whether I give consent or not, the legalities is more so for the doctor, not the woman. So yes, doctors should be punished.
How would you punish them? Or how should they be punished?
Do you think, you mean like as in should they be convicted of murder?
Yes.
If a pregnant woman is killed and the baby dies, that is 2 murders. And in the same instance, if a baby is pulled from the womb, it's murder.
I'll take that out.
What do you think? Do you think that the doctor should be persecuted or the woman?
So I do not agree at all that the women should be prosecuted in terms of like jail time, if that makes sense, for wanting to do something like that if it does become illegal, or like how the other states have proposed those laws. And it's a legality thing, like you said. So yeah, the doctors should have some form of punishment, but I don't think it should be like murder conviction more so than it would be
Like a malpractice, maybe?
yes, malpractice, like lose their license, have to go through like some kind of course to like try and get it back or something.
Okay, in that case, why wouldn't it be murder charges?
Yeah,
It's a legitimate question because you believe that it's a baby from the start, correct? So.
But that's my opinion. That's
Well, we're kind of going off of your opinion at this point.
Okay, so we're going off of my opinion.
Completely based off your opinion.
Yeah, because we can say, well, this is how it should be, but we're not going to get that done at this point. This is just us trying to debate a topic and enjoying ourselves.
Okay, well, so, because I'm trying to, like, do my opinion, but also, like, as a whole, I'm trying to do that.
I
just
do understand that.
So, but it's more than anything, I still don't think that they should be, like, if it becomes illegal, but it was legal before, or it's legal in some states but not in their state, I still don't feel like it should be a murder charge, even though it is taking a life. But I just can't sit right with having someone go to jail for murder for that. It just, I don't really have a full reason. It just doesn't sit right with me.
Okay.
Well, there's just different degrees of murder with different circumstances, like different outcomes.
Or even if it was
Manslaughter, murder.
like in some, if it was like manslaughter, I think that, what is that, like in some states it's like what, 10-15 years or something like that. So even that would be better than
I've seen
just
people
like
do like 8 for it.
and then plus, you know, all the ways people have to get out of things when it comes to that. But I actually had a question though for you, because I don't know if they know about this, but there's a lot of talk going on out there about like birth control and how that is affecting women's bodies, because you're not supposed to be on it for long periods of time. Like the hormones that we have right now going into our body from it, it's up until whenever it became available, which is what, the 70s when all that began, whenever birth control became readily available. No women have ever had like this much hormones in their bodies constantly, and there's no really studies on it that I've looked up. But how do you think that this is affecting in the long, like women in the long run?
I kind of lump that into vaccinations, and that's a whole nother topic, I feel like.
Yes, it is.
Honestly, my personal belief, because what I do is I don't take any medication. I take ibuprofen for headaches. I don't go to the doctor for any sort of ailments or anything of that nature.
You're anti-vaccination?
I am not
Just
anti-vaccination,
checking.
but
I was gonna say, maybe we had another
my
debate.
my kids are vaccinated, but I do refute some vaccinations.
That's understandable.
But there are instances where there haven't been enough studies, I feel like, in some cases, or I feel like the baby was too young. And this is kind of way off topic, I guess, but my son had a vaccination when he was an infant, and I'm not sure if it was the actual medication within the vaccination, or if it was the way that the shot was administered, that it created a spot on his leg that continued to bubble up like over and over and over.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody messed up the shot. But it could be.
But they couldn't, like, I went and took him back several times, and they could never tell me anything. They didn't know. But
I'm
again,
a paramedic, though. I'm just
birth
notating
control.
that. I have 2 shots.
the birth control, my daughter is on birth control, and I hope that she's not on it long term and she gets married and then she can make that decision. It's not meant to be long term, but
I don't see any reason why a girl can be like outside of a relationship. Hey, I'm not going to take birth control right now. Now I'm in a relationship. Now I'm going to take some birth control.
Yeah,
you know?
but
or even take some cool on.
But I mean, there's people there's a lot of people who don't know that it's not meant to be long term. Like I got on birth control whenever I got on it for health reasons. I was having a lot of issues with like my period and stuff, and so that's why I got on it. That and then just a bunch of issues that I had to get on it for. And I think I was like 13 or 14, and I'm 21 now, and I've never been off of it for more than like a few months. And those few months when I was off of it, I felt like shit. Like I can't even explain it. Like my hormones trying to balance back out, like it made me feel like I was insane. And like I'm on medication for like my anxiety and depression and things like that, and so it made the things that I have so much worse, to where it made me suicidal being off of it. So I had to get back on it.
It's a dependency that your body has.
I think so. That's what I think had happened. That it really messed with me, being off of it for the few months. Because the few months that I was off of it.
Was it a pill or was it a vaccination?
It was a pill. It was just the normal pill that you take every day.
Contraceptive, it works by tricking your body into thinking it's pregnant. Is basically the way it works, right?
No, your body doesn't release an egg.
Yeah.
At all.
Yes.
So is that all of them or just some of them? Because I know some of them.
Because you still have your period.
I know.
Because the way that you can stop your period is just because with normal like taking pills and things and like NuvaRings and things and patches, you have a week where you don't do it, and that is whenever your egg is released normally, to make sure that you still do have like your cycle. But if you don't want to have one, if you, instead of taking that week break, you just continue to be on it all the time nonstop, and so then you won't release an egg at all, so you won't have a period.
So my daughter is on the shot, and
See, but I've never had the shot. I don't know about that.
And initially, it was because of her acne and things of that nature. So they use it for more than just.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So benefits, do they outweigh the good?
But
I
It's kind of everybody's personal.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
just
worried about
so
how
low,
it's going to affect me in the long term.
Because they haven't been around that long, right? I mean, the oral contraceptive and shots, new all that stuff.
Well, 70s whenever all of the
but it might be a benefit. I mean,
the
we're talking about men's birth control coming out. I mean,
yes.
So I mean, what about like a 6 and 6 rotation, right? Guy takes 6 months, you take yours the other 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, I think it has to do like the pill. You have to have it in your system for like a couple of months before it actually works. So
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know
how most of them are. It needs to be in your system for a period of time before it's like the safe time to go. And they say that if like you miss a day, that for the next 3 days or something, like you need to use extra caution, extra precautions, whatever, if you are gonna have sex. So, but and then I had another question that you kind of brought up earlier, and then we kind of like veered off from it.
We do that. It's okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure because
Just
when
training
it
on
comes,
straight tracks.
I wanted to know because y'all are men. I wanted to know what y'all's opinion are when it comes.
Last
Did
time
you
I
just
checked.
assume my gender?
I'm sorry.
I am an eggplant.
I'm sorry.
You know.
You two assumingly have penises. So I'm gonna say, if let's say you're dating a girl and she gets pregnant, and you find out she's pregnant, but she goes and has an abortion without asking you about it first, or you find out after, like, how do you feel about that? Because there's been times when that's happened, when men have been like pissed off that the choice
a man is
of
currently
having-
suing over that.
That's what I'm saying.
In
There's been,
Alabama.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's
Like
currently the case.
when it comes
And
to that,
I agree with him because if you're going to do abortion, honestly, I don't think you should, but if you do, that should be a two-person decision because it was a two-person decision to make that if it's in the case of consent.
I have put a lot of thought into that one because I was like, okay, so if we're saying it's pro-choice, why is it just pro one person's
Yeah.
choice?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, if you really want to say pro-choice, I feel like both people should have a say-so.
see, because a lot
No,
of pro-choice argument is over the woman's body wanting control over her own body.
That's actually
and
I was going to bring that
Yeah,
up.
and that men shouldn't have a say-so over what they do with their body.
Yeah, but you got a
Somebody
piece of
doesn't
my
say,
body in
how
your
is your
body.
body? They say, how is your baby?
Yeah.
Like, that's craziness.
Well, that's another thing too because I understand it's your body, but that's not baby's body too. I mean, you're just
Let's
taking away
get scientific here, okay? Because this is an argument a lot of people make, and I'm hoping we can get somebody on the podcast who feels this way. I haven't met anybody in my life who felt this way, but I mean, the fetus, the baby, in every way has its own DNA. It's a fact. This isn't an opinion. I know some people want to be like, oh no, that's just your opinion. No, it's a fact. It has its own DNA. It's its own body. It is living off of you, but hey, even after the baby's born, it kind of does that too. So, I mean, no matter what, that's the way it is. So yeah, but back to what you were saying. So, if you asked me, I would say yes. If you want to go pro-choice, then I say you have to go both two-party pro-choice. You can't just say,
I also
I get to
believe
make all the decisions.
in a guy's case, if a guy's wanting to abort, the guy should just go ahead and get snipped while she's getting aborted. Like 100%.
Yeah, I think-
if you want to give up your kid like that, you might as well get snipped. And
Well, what I don't...
Especially because men having that happen, yours can be reversed.
and it's less invasive.
It's less invasive.
I
and
don't
it
like
can be
that a lot of
reversed.
young guys, and I've seen it. I've seen this happen. I've seen a lot of young guys get a girl pregnant, and they start pushing her to have an abortion. Actually, guilting her into having an abortion.
Yeah.
And I think that is a horrible, horrible person. I mean, you just completely don't want to take responsibility. You just wanted the fun, and that's what that's kind of the thing. I don't fully understand the argument for that because I'm like, one argument that women make is, I should get to have fun and blah blah blah, and then at the same time they'll get mad at a guy. Hey, you just wanted to have fun. You know, I'm like, wait. What your argument is that you think you should be allowed to just have sex and have fun. Not saying it's your argument, but I'm saying I've seen people make that argument. So I don't know. That's a really hard one. But if you did do a two-party pro-choice system, it'd be really hard to do. I thought about that because
definitely.
what if the guy's not there?
Yeah, you have to have some kind of signed consent, and
You
if
can't
you
prove
decide
he's
not
there.
to do it, exactly, or if anything,
I
you don't
can't
want
even
them
go
to
get
know,
my
like,
kid's passport without their dad's information.
yeah, he just went through that.
Yeah,
So I
But
mean, you
it's-
can't even like leave the country.
but that's
unless
married.
You have,
That's a married couple.
no, I'm not married to their
To what?
to their father, and so
Yeah, but to get a passport for if there's
my
no
children
father
that
in
are
it.
under the age.
Yeah, but there's a process for that. That's what I'm saying.
I'm going through it. Their father is on their birth certificate.
Oh, see, that's
And
what
so
I'm
I
saying.
have to present information, like say I have sole custody, or he would have to be present.
My dad actually went through that with me and my brother when we transferred to Ponchatoula. They didn't realize it, but he's one of those people who like to talk, and he goes his biggest pickup line, "Yeah, I'm a single father," and so he saw the secretary and he went, "Yeah, I'm a single father," and the secretary goes, "Oh, do you have custody papers?" And his mouth just dropped because he didn't have custody papers, so he had to get custody papers within a year. They actually stopped letting us go to school for a while because he didn't have custody of us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have some information, like if you're already born and living and walking around Earth, you have to have your second parent consent, or if they're on the birth certificate, to whatever is going on. So
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. That would be the difficult part, though, if you tried to do a two-party consent system, because,
you can just pick any kind. Pick
a
gender.
woman could just walk in and be like, "No, I don't know who that is," and what could they possibly say back to that? I mean, there's just no way, and the guy wouldn't know that you were going off to get an abortion, and so that's why I say that'd be a really hard system to
Or
implement.
you could, like I think you were about to say, you could
I'm
bring a friend.
anti-abortion. You could pick anybody.
Yeah, you could just
like
make a
I
friend
could just
like,
be like,
yeah.
Mark, hey.
Yeah.
But
You know, guys will do
Exactly.
it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying if I were to try to make a system like that, if I were to
It
try
would
to
just
think
be
up a
so
system like that,
hard.
it would be almost impossible to implement, just because there's no way to force a woman to be like, no, you got to go find the dad
But-
if you want to have an abortion.
But personally, I definitely think the men should be accountable, if not more accountable for it, because of the fact that, like, I don't know, I just see that's your kid, man. Like, you don't abandon. You,
I think
like,
that
the
women
mom
take a
can't-
big responsibility in it, and
Yeah.
men should be forced to
And
take a bigger responsibility.
That's why, like,
Oh yeah.
people shouldn't be able to just not be in their lives and then, you know, come. This is what really bothers me, because I know a couple right now who has a daughter, but the dad stopped coming around when she was like 2, and now she's like 12 to 13, and the dad all of a sudden comes back into life and gets half custody, shared custody.
Whoa.
And
Crazy.
just out the blue, they get court papers, and he wants to be back a part of life, which I don't think that's fair. He wasn't a part of it to begin with, and
Yeah, I mean, visitation.
But it is her
supervised,
father. I grew up without a father.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know my dad. I don't have anyone on my birth certificate. So you would want to know, even if, because I feel like it's more
So-
effective.
Yeah, but is it the court's right to decide that?
'Cause
Way? Or
the issue-
should it be the mother's right to decide?
but the issue with
Why
that
would it
is
be the mom's right? It's the child's father.
correct.
Yeah.
So, but the issue I have with that is, I don't think they should have shared custody, because now they have her when school starts, but like summer vacation, any holidays, the dad has her.
Well, if the dad is a
But didn't he?
upstanding citizen,
No.
and doesn't do
He's
drugs,
he's saying in this case he abandoned his
Yeah, he
parental
came
rights.
back 12 years later.
He abandoned
But
it
did
at 2
he
years
sign
old.
the
They say,
child
did he
over?
sign it away? Because if you
I
do
have no
that,
idea on that.
Then you
probably
have no
not. He
rights.
probably literally just like left and then
Well,
came back.
I mean, so for example, me as a mother, well, my mom, she went crazy, and I was put into foster care, and she went and got better, and came back and got me. So there are instances where fathers are not mature
Mm-hmm.
or not on the right path.
Well, that's what I was saying.
And those are
Do you
life
thi- do you think
decisions that you
the-
have to make. But when you're there and you're ready to parent, I think it should be you should be given every chance.
Yeah, because
Yes,
at the
but-
time he may not have been ready, and he probably had to like spend some time like basically getting
And
his shit
I
together to
agree
be
with that.
ready to be a dad.
I
and
100%
he
agree with that.
probably like regretted taking so long, but the fact that he is willing to step up and be a dad and be a
So-
part of life at some point, I feel like that's
I do
good.
agree with
I
that
guess
somewhat, but at the same time, that mother didn't have a choice.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like,
Like-
why shouldn't that be her choice? Because
And
she stuck
not to
around,
mention,
dealt with
she
it,
stuck around,
toughed it out.
struggled.
So-
So you
She's the
say yourself,
responsible
your
one.
sister, 2 jobs, stuff like that. Dad comes back in life. One, I think the dad should offer her money off the bat to help pay for whatever that kid needs. I think he should pay more than that mother did
Yeah, you should be
for
back.
12
You should
years.
back owe money.
Like that's insane that he can just walk in and like, okay,
I
from
don't
here
think
on
that a
out.
child is. I don't look at my child as a monetary value. What I want my child to have is a good mental stability. And so the best thing for the child would be to make sure that both parents are there that can be there. Now, if a parent is not there because they are choosing not to, that's unfortunate. But if they come back and they want to parent, the priority is the child. It's not money, and it's not.
But how many times can they do that? What if they
Okay,
just...
so let me just tell you my
Lights
story.
Yeah.
I have a 15-year-old. I wasn't married. Her dad, I had sole custody in 2006. She was 2 years old. I've had sole custody since. He currently right now is incarcerated in Missouri. Has been incarcerated for multiple things.
This could be a whole nother podcast. Go ahead.
So, yeah. And so, in that instance, for a long time, I did try to help him continue a relationship with her, regardless of his circumstances. And so, even though I had sole custody, I still allowed my daughter to go and visit her secondary family, her dad's side of the family, during summers, etc. Even though he wasn't participating. He's currently $30,000 behind in child support. He's never paid child support one time. I don't look at that as if I am owed that money, because even if he's not there and will never be there, I am responsible for her. So no matter what, like, I'm not gonna go, I fed her pizza yesterday. Are you gonna pay
No.
for her pizza? Like,
I don't think, because that's another thing I have an issue with. I don't like these mothers going, oh, well, you owe me this, and then they get it and they go buy clothes. I'm not saying like they owe the mother money as much as they owe more support to that kid than what they should initially start.
I feel like
come
child
back in.
support as a whole is just such a huge topic. Like, the way
Oh, it is.
people treat it and do
Because
things
it's completely
with it.
up to the court system.
Exactly, it's up
and
to the
I don't know
courts.
if that's
But
right.
it does fall back to the whole abortion topic because guys will. You'd be surprised how far ahead guys will think about that stuff sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like I don't want to deal with that. I don't
Like pay child support or
Mhm.
be involved.
or being stuck in child
Well,
support.
sign your rights over.
Well,
Literally,
that's the thing.
but they don't want to do
I
that.
know-
But they don't want to pay
I
child
know-
support. I never
Just
understood that.
I know
sign your
one
rights over.
dirtbag who used to be my friend, and we actually fall out because of this. But he legit told me, he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna wait till she's older, cause I want to do me right now. When she's older, she'll understand. Like I can get to know her on her personal level when we're older. But as of right now, I don't need to be a part of her life. She ain't. Gonna
Well, my
remember.
daughter's 15 and she has her own cell phone and she can make that decision. Her dad can call her phone if she wants to answer it. She can answer it.
Yeah, but see, that's a decision you made
Yeah.
for her. That's what I'm getting back to that
Not
point.
necessarily.
Sure,
She's
if
making
you
the
could-
decision when she's looking at the phone and
You're
saying,
allowing her to make that decision. Is my
but
point.
it's her phone.
No,
gave
but you
her-
gave her the.
You
phone.
made all those choices for her. Is my point. You chose to give her a phone. You chose to allow her to do that. You could just as well make the choice not to allow her to do that. That's just your parenting style, which is fine. I'm not arguing your parenting style. I'm just saying those are choices you made. You chose what you believe to be best for your child. Another person may look at it and go, "Look, I know this guy better than the court system does. He ain't reliable. He might come back in her life and screw it up even worse. That I've been trying to make it better, and now he's going to come and screw it up worse." And a judge just decided to let him back in her life.
Well,
That's
a
what I'm
judge
saying.
is going to look at like certain aspects. I've been to court twice. Like it's not a fun situation, but the court looks at the dad and they determine whether they're financially stable, physically stable. There are certain things that you have to reach in order to have any sort of custody of your child. If you meet these basic standards and this is your child, then you should have ability to help raise your child because it is your child. So it's like and I'm coming from it as a mother standpoint. So I mean, you're a dad. Shoe was on the other foot. If a woman left and you were raising your child and she had some mental breakdown and came back 6 years later and wanted to be a part of that child's life, would you deny that child his mother?
Initially, yes. I would want to.
Even
I
though
would
the
want to
court
screen her.
system says you have part custody of this baby.
Even though the court, well, if they left, I would take that to the court. Now they left, they abandoned the child.
But they could bring that back up in court any given
Yeah,
point.
sure they can, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think the court has a role to play in that. I mean, if you just ask me, I don't think the court has a role to play in that. I mean, we came into this situation together. They abandoned it. I'm the one who stayed and stuck it out, dealt with it, and,
See,
and was responsible.
that's a personal, like.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It is personal. Well, I'm saying I don't.
But
think,
it's
I
not
don't
for
think
the
government-
child. You're saying me. She abandoned me.
No,
the child.
no. I said abandoned the responsibility.
And me, I'm stuck with it. That's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I'm saying I did not abandon that responsibility. I was more responsible. What I'm saying is, I think a parent. Okay, so like, say you had a grandparent, right? Okay, say you're not separated. It's you and your spouse, and a grandparent who's a drug addict, blah blah blah, all kinds of bad stuff. You make the decision. Would you think that you as your couple should get to make the decision? I don't want this grandparent in this child's life. Because we believe it's in the best interest for the child not to have this person in their life.
Why would it not? What would be the best interest part? Like,
Well, that's a parent's prerogative and is to decide what's best for their child. That's what I'm saying. That's your right. That's a protected right. You have the right to decide what's best for your child. Correct?
and having both parents in the child's life is
Not necessarily good all the time.
But moving on to that, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. So,
Conclusions to what we have talked to about so far. Megan, you want to say anything else?
Sure. I guess.
Do you feel differently about anything
Um,
at the end of this discussion?
Not really, just because from my standpoint, like I said, my view on all of this is different than like the general pro-choicers
So
view.
you're
So I still stand basically where I did coming into this.
so you still feel like you think you should defend other people's right to choose.
Yes.
Those. Okay.
Still fully, that's still how I feel.
And that's fine.
Mhm.
Julie?
I feel like someone should have a voice for the people that don't have a voice. And if I could give them a voice, I'd
Okay.
want to.
That's fine. Well, guys, this is Oh no.
So well, this is going to be part one. We are
I was
going
gonna say
to
that.
we are going to continue this to a part two. So we'll be working on that. Tune in next time for part two and conclusion to this.
We are the divided people. Good night.
Thank you all for listening. If you like this episode, please give us a like on anything, YouTube, Facebook. We're on all the podcast platforms as well, so subscribe to us. If you want to talk about anything, discuss anything, or try to jump in on this conversation, you can always message us, and we would love to have you on. Also, don't be afraid to tell your friends about us. We appreciate the views, and we would love to continue this. Thank you all. Later.